Hey, what's up you guys? It's Simon. Welcome back to my channel. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If not, I hope you have a happy holidays or have had, whatever. I hope you guys have had or are going to have a happy holiday. So because it is the holiday, holidays. Y'all, I hate unscripted videos. Anyways, since it is the holidays, I draw the same illustration every holiday season. Almost. But anyway, I decided I wanted to redraw this illustration again. It's just something that's very much in my comfort zone. It's super cute, just like a portrait with a nice like ombre hairstyle, cute little like glittery reindeer horns, because I think it's really cute. And it's just a nice subject for me to draw, and it also kind of is a good way for me to kind of gauge how much my art has grown over the years, because again, it is my comfort zone, and the best way to see if you've really progressed is look at illustrations that are within your comfort zone, because those are illustrations that you made when you were at your best and feeling your best and most comfortable with your subject. So doing redraws of stuff like that really helps to, again, just gauge how much you've improved, especially in regards to your favorite thing. So yeah, of course I wanted to go ahead and do that again. I ran into a couple of roadblocks when it came to this illustration. As usual, I did decide to go ahead and sketch off camera. I don't have the sketch footage for you just because I am filming this on Christmas Eve and it's supposed to go up on Patreon today, and so I am getting this together as quickly as possible. Y'all know it's the holidays, things are hectic, everything's insane. So yeah, I don't have the sketch footage, but I have been doing kind of this same process when it comes to my traditional illustrations lately. I have just been drafting them digitally on Procreate and then printing them onto my I almost said canvas paper. It is my sketchbook paper. For anybody interested, I do use the Canson XL mixed media paper, just because I don't primarily do alcohol markers in, I guess, singularity when it comes to my traditional illustrations. I always use them kind of in tandem with something else, whether that be colored pencil or watercolor or occasionally acrylic, very rarely, like incredibly rarely. But because I'm not using strictly markers, that means that I don't like to use materials like Bristol board or things like that where the paper is like smooth and slick, because it makes adding those final kind of touch-up-y sort of mediums just really irritating, because of course, you know, things like Bristol board hate watercolor, and I really like to use watercolor to like tint certain colors if I feel like my markers didn't get them quite right, or add in backgrounds, because there's no way in hell I am using an entire Copic marker on a background. That is ridiculous. Another thing I do want to mention is definitely papers like this mixed media paper will dry up your markers like so bad, like it will eat your ink. So definitely be prepared to have things like refills and stuff in stock, because especially during this illustration I had to turn my camera off several times to keep refilling the exact same marker, not because it was being like completely eaten up. Again, like it's not going to dry up your marker in one use unless you're filling in a large area, but it is going to considerably dry up your markers quicker than if you were to be using again, like Bristol board or like paper that's made for markers, like whether that's the Okuhu paper or the Copic paper, you know, paper made strictly for markers. So if you are going to be using mixed media, keep that in mind. But it's my favorite. I still think markers look really nice on it, and again, it allows me to use other materials in combination with my markers so I can really get the look that I want. Anyways, getting into the actual illustration. So again, like I mentioned before, it's just a regular portrait. It's nothing too fancy, nothing too dynamic. It's just kind of, you know, a portrait facing right this time. It is facing right this time. I can't remember if I initially started the sketch facing this direction, but I did land on it in the end because I just thought it looked so pretty. I messaged my husband because I was kind of unsure about the direction that it was facing, because this redraw, every year it looks incredibly different. I will insert the first 2 years that I did this on the screen somewhere, just so you guys can see kind of where this illustration is coming from. It's also, of course, on my Instagram. I believe the first one was posted in 2018, and then the next one was 2019, and then of course we skipped 2020, but now here we are in 2021. So yeah, both of the other ones are facing to the left, but then, you know, there's just major changes that happen every year I do this illustration. So the first one obviously was literally just like a floating head, as you guys saw, with some cute little accessories, and then I believe it was in 2019, I was like, I'm gonna show off. I am going to like have her holding like some coffee or like a hot cocoa, whatever it is that you want to call it, just some warm wintry beverage of some sort. I'm gonna give her a little outfit, you know, I'm gonna go all out. Well, all out. It was still like I put her in a sweater. But yeah, I really thought that was like peak, like I have peaked. My art is so much better than it ever has been, which it was considerably better than the first one, but like arguably it also in some ways wasn't much better than the first one, because in trying to I think like force myself to do more than just a portrait, I think I kind of took away from the initial illustration. Like my drawing skills had improved, but at the same time it was like, did the drawing itself improve? I don't think adding in those other elements really made it that much more interesting. So I kind of decided to pull things back again this year and just hone in on the portrait, but make it, you know, make a little more sense. You know, she has shoulders now. I tied in that green sweater as well that you guys saw in the second illustration. I really wanted to use that color again. I don't know if you guys can tell in the speed paint, but I went in with that color, and it was hard. I've talked about this a little bit before on my channel. Every single time it seems like I use my Copic markers, I find a marker that is just rock solid. I don't know why, because a lot of my markers, again, I've been collecting Copic markers since 2011, so it has been 10 years that I've had some of these markers. In fact, some of them that I used on this piece are 10 years old, have never been refilled too. For example, her lips, I think I used lipstick red on them, or no, that's not the right color. There was another one. One of the ones I used on her hair and one of the ones I've used on her lips, it might have been lipstick red. But regardless, one of the colors that I used was 10 freaking years old. I have had it the entirety of the time that I've had my Copic markers. It's perfectly fine. I went in with that green that I've probably only had for maybe 3 years, probably 4, possibly. Well, let's 2018, 18, 19, 20, 20. Yeah, 4 years. So I've had it for 4 years because I did get it that year, I believe. Rock solid. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not as if they've dried out in the sense that I used it until it dried. Like, it's hard. It is solid. If anybody has any idea why only some of my markers, especially considering some of these markers are brand new, like I've had markers that I purchased this year or this last year in 2020 that I have gone to use for maybe the 3rd time ever, and I can't because it's hard and solid and the tip is like fraying. I've heard people say that it's because of like the mixed medium paper and stuff, but it can't be that, because some of these markers I genuinely have not touched beyond swatching them for the first time. So why they're like that, I don't know. In fact, I know that some of them were hardly ever touched because I had this one purple. It was the fluorescent line, the fluorescent violet 2 or whatever, deep violet, whatever it is. The fluorescent purple. I swatched it once and never used it again because it's fluorescent purple. I didn't know when I was going to use that or for what. So beyond swatching it, have not touched it. It is also rock solid. I can't wrap my head around this. So yeah, that's been really frustrating. I really wanted to use that green, but he was hard, so I kind of had to go back in and use a mixture of two colors to kind of get that vibe. I think I went in with, it was like bright parrot green, I think, as well as teal blue, and it kind of got the vibe that I wanted. It was the pine tree that was dried up, which made me really upset because her sweater color is actually mistletoe, is the name of the color, and I thought it would be really cute because it's a holiday illustration, and to be able to use colors like mistletoe and pine tree would have been super cute, but luckily I was able to at least get the mistletoe in there, which was really nice. I also had some struggle with tones as well because I have not had the chance to refill some of my very important frequently used markers, particularly in my browns, especially the browns that I like to use for hair. There is one that I have that is just, it is so dry, it is begging for some juice, and I have not been able to refill it. So I was like, I know I used this color in both of the previous illustrations, so how can I replicate this? Do I have a color that's similar? And luckily, a little while back, I think like, oh my gosh, has it already been 2 years? A while ago, I bought a Ohuhu set of brush tip markers when they came out because I was just really excited to see how the brush tips on the Ohuhu compared to the Copic markers. And luckily I had 2 markers in that set that were kind of similar to the previous ones. They, I think, were a little bit too yellow for me. They were kind of like just a little bit too it's like too golden, I guess, for the top of the head, because if you look at the prior illustrations, it's really hard to describe these very specific undertones that it feels like sometimes only my eyes can see, but I feel like the other 2 in the previous illustration were like a little bit of like a softer kind of like pinkish brown, and then the Ohuhu ones were more of like an orangey golden yellow toned brown. Very specific, but enough to bother me, but I still went ahead and ended up using them anyways, just because, again, I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. I kind of needed to get this out, and I had the idea that once I was finished, I would go in with, again, some of my mixed media elements. So yeah, overall, I really like how the new version turned out. The sketch especially, I was super pleased with. I just really liked her expression. I think it's a little bit different from the original. I think the original, she's a bit more kind of like upbeat, kind of, what is the word that I'm looking for? She doesn't seem as shy as she does in the newer version, but I kind of like the shyness of the new one. Like, it just kind of seems like she's kind of calm, and happy. So yeah, I think that was really cute, and then I really loved her hair. In the original, I can tell what I was sort of going for, like a little bit of side bang action, and just really long curly hair, but I don't think that I captured it as well as I wanted to, especially with the actual ombre effect. I kind of just went with flat colors and didn't have any sort of line work or shading in that, especially because back then in 2018 was when I was using, I think I was pretty much exclusively lineless. I would go and sketch in with like red pencil, and then I would just go over it. I wouldn't do line work or anything like that. So just having kind of that flat gradient with no line work to kind of push things along, if that makes sense, I found was not very helpful. It definitely didn't read the way that I wanted it to. And then in the second version, I think I did something sort of similar, and it also was just very dark. I don't know how I made it so dark, because I'm pretty sure, use the same colors for that illustration, but it again, lost some of the lines. So I wanted to make really like extra sure that I was able to capture all of the different strands without having to illustrate every single strand. Don't do that to yourself, guys. If you're one of those people that renders every single strand, please save yourself some time. Work in chunks. You will be thanking me later. Like, your wrist, it will be so much better. But yeah, I definitely wanted to have more lines in there than just kind of the flat wash. So I really tried to emphasize some, like, I guess it's feathering. I was doing a lot of feathering with the brushes, and I was struggling a little bit towards the end because once again, I had this really light color, like super almost white blonde. It was E50, also rock solid. Also one of my newer ones that I have almost never used. So I don't know what it is. It literally drove me insane. So I kind of just had to bite the bullet a little bit towards the end and just went with, you know, flat blonde at the ends. But for the rest of it, I really did try super hard to feather. I also was really pleased with the blending in between the Ohuhu and the Copic. It's not like a perfectly seamless blend. Like, I can definitely see where I was using Ohuhu and where I was using Copic. However, there are some spots where it is really nicely feathered. It's really nicely blended. I know they're both alcohol markers, so they should blend together easily, but you know, some brands don't get it as good as other ones and they don't blend as nicely. So yeah, I was really pleased with how those two blended, especially because, again, the undertones that I wanted from the Copics were a little bit different than the Ohuhu, and I was keeping that in mind the entire time. So the fact that they were able to come together so nice was really good for me, and I'm really pleased with how that turned out. Other than that, I can't think of anything really that I disliked about the newer version other than the kind of coloring fiasco. I really like her face. I really like, you know, the vibe of it, and then the coloring process, other than the few dry parts, was really relaxing for me. Like, it just was kind of easy because I knew exactly what I was doing, exactly where I was going in with things, and even when I did have those hiccups, I had backups in my brain. I knew what I was going to do if things didn't come together the way that I wanted. So yeah, overall, I am really happy with it. As you guys can see from the footage, I did step away so that I could go in with the mixed media aspects that I wanted to incorporate. So after I finished what would essentially be like the flats, they're not really the flats, but they essentially are the flats. I went in with some colored pencil on the cheeks just to bring in that blush. I don't really like to do blushing as much with Copic markers just because the lines can be really harsh depending on how long you've let your base layer sit, and because I jump around so much when doing my illustrations, I don't always remember that I want to put blush. So when I do that, I always do that with colored pencil. And then when it comes to the lipstick as well, I can only get so far with the gradients that I want to do with Copics without getting the ink to bleed everywhere. As you guys saw in her teeth, it was kind of scary. It looked like her teeth were bleeding. So yeah, to prevent that, I just called it good and then went in again with a red color pencil and a pink color pencil to really get that nice like lip gloss aesthetic, I guess. But I think they look really cute. I keep turning to look at it as I'm doing this voiceover because I really like how it came out. That's pretty much exactly what I wanted it to look like, so super happy with that. I'm also really happy with all of the little purpley bits that I have on her. I don't know if I would necessarily call them purple. They're like a wine purple, red, maroon color. In the previous iterations, I didn't actually do any shading with those colors. It was just peony, and I just slapped it on there because peony is one of my favorite Copic markers because it is one of my favorite colors in general. But I decided to go with a little bit of a gradient this year. I don't like the color that's intended, in air quotes, to be blended with peony. It's raspberry, which is a nice color in general. But I always associate peony with like very warm kind of winter autumnal vibes, and peony is like very much I'm purple. I'm Barney. So I definitely didn't want to blend peony with that. So instead I went in with, I can't remember if it was currant or garnet. I'm pretty sure it was garnet because it was drying up, and garnet is one of my older ones. But I went in with garnet instead and blended it with that, and it was exactly the vibe that I was looking for. It was also kind of out of place in the other illustrations as well because it was just so dark. It was like very dark. and it wasn't vibing with me, I guess, this year. So instead, like I said, I did decide to do that little fade, and I think that color kind of ties in the holiday theme a little bit more. The only thing I think I am disappointed in is the heart under her eye, because it kind of is hidden on her face, but the other two iterations it's pretty obvious. And it is kind of weird to me that it's not so obvious, considering I actually went with an outline for it this year. Like, it's literally like outlined in the line art that I did on Procreate. So I think if I draw this again next year, I will probably do away with that outline, because I think that might be part of what's kind of pushing it back as something that's hidden, because in the previous versions, again, it's like a bright red heart stamp on her cheek. So I think definitely I'm going to do away with the outline next year and see if that brings back the pop. I hope it does. And then the only other thing I can say that I'm not too hype about is the antlers. So I really like the shape, and I do really like the glitter on them still. You guys will be seeing that here in just a second, but I am a little bit upset about it because I used tacky glue as my glue medium, because in the 2 previous years I used Mod Podge, and it just, everything went everywhere, and I was having to individually place the little glitters that I had. And I also didn't have the same iridescent glitter anymore. It was previously a big chunky, I think they're hexagon shaped iridescent glitters. I did not have those, but I did still have iridescent glitter. The problem was it was just really tiny, fine, circular glitter, and I was not about to individually place those. That was not going to happen, and Mod Podge dries too quickly for me to do the same method that I did, which was I laid all the glue down with tacky glue, poured the glitter over it, and then just kind of tapped off the excess, but it completely covered the pink. Like, the pink in her antlers, not visible, which sucks because it was kind of cute that they were super pink. I am more happy with the shape this year than I am in the, I think it was the 2019 version, because the 2019, they didn't look like antlers at all. They looked like little cactuses, and I don't know why I convinced myself, like, yes, this is a cute little reindeer. Where? Those are pink cacti. I don't know how I did that. And I can't really remember what it looked like in the second version, but I do remember that I like this year's. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys like the redraw. I'm sorry once again, the voiceover is all over the place. It is the holidays. I think this is the first year I've ever posted in December, so I hope you guys have enjoyed that despite me being super incredibly chaotic. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons: Elise Thompson, Duran, Mandy, Sleeps, Created by Twins, Kruhi, and Shannon. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for continuing to support me every single month, and a couple of you for continuing to support me all year. Like, that means so much. You guys really help keep this channel going. If you want to also help keep this channel going, be sure to check out the description down below where you can find my Patreon. You can get a ton of cool rewards like shoutouts alongside these guys, as well as physical rewards like stickers and prints every month, and discounts on Etsy and commission stuff. So if that's anything that interests you, like I said, it will be linked down in the description alongside all my other social media. One more thing I want to say, because it is the 25th of December, we only have 6 more days to reach 5,000 subscribers. If you guys want to do that giveaway, is it 5,000 subscribers? I think it's 5,000 subscribers. Y'all, my brain is all over the place. I'm pretty sure it's 5,000 subscribers. We only have 6 more days to reach the goal for the giveaway. So if you guys want this giveaway to happen, be sure to share this video or any of my other videos that you guys like, that you think other people will like as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.